Over the years, I and many others have been very critical of many decisions taken by the EU, and I remain very critical of its shortcomings, from its lack of democratic accountability to the institutional pressures to deregulate or privatise public services. So, Europe needs to change, but that change can only come from working with our allies in the European Union to achieve it. It's perfectly possible to be critical and still be convinced we need to remain a member. 4 decades ago, the EU of today brings together most of the countries in Europe and has developed important employment, environmental and consumer protections. I've listened very closely to the views of trade unions, environmental groups, human rights organisations and of course to Labour Party members and supporters and fellow members of Parliament. They are overwhelmingly convinced that we can best make a positive difference by remaining in Europe. Britain needs to stay in the EU as the best framework for trade, manufacturing and cooperation in the 21st century. Tens of billions of pounds worth of investment and millions of jobs are linked to our relationship with the EU, the biggest market in the world. EU membership has guaranteed working people vital employment rights, including 4 weeks paid holiday, maternity and paternity leave, protection for agency workers, health and safety in the workplace. Being in the EU has raised our environmental standards, from beaches to air quality, and protected consumers from rip-off charges. But we also need to make the case for reform in Europe. The reform David Cameron's government has no interest in, but plenty of others across Europe do. That means democratic reform, to make the EU more accountable to its people, economic reform, to end self-defeating austerity and put jobs and sustainable growth at the centre of European policy.